And good afternoon. Welcome back to the Over 40s Fitness Podcast. My name is Tristan Lowe. Today we're going to be talking about making time for strength training. Okay, now strength training shouldn't take 3, 4, 5 hours in the gym, and neither should it take 2 hours on the road. That would be your aerobic training. But we're talking about strength training and why we should make time for it. And I'm going to give you an easy tip on how to make time. Okay, example. If you get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and you've got to be at work for 8 and you live within 10-15 minutes of a leisure centre or a gym, you should actually be out of bed, have your kit on and be in that leisure centre or that gym by 6:30 at the latest. That gives you 35 to 45 minutes of strength training, time enough to shower, change and still get to work on time, and perhaps even give yourself a light breakfast when you get to work or even in the gym or the leisure centre. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't think I've got the time to do that. Well, my way of looking at it is you should make time. Yep. Remember, if you don't start work till 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, you should be out of bed anywhere between 5:45 and 6:15 and training then. If you live in the middle of the desert, you're miles and miles and miles and hours away from a gym. I understand that, or a leisure centre. Well, in that case, then put some strength training equipment in your house, in your garage, or weather permitting in your garden. Put some dumbbells, kettlebells, boxes, bands, anything like that. Now, if you do get access to a leisure centre or gym, the type of strength training you can do when you're stuck for time is what we would ordinarily know as what's called circuits. Now, let's call a circuit something where you pick up one weight and do an exercise with it, put it down, and straight away move on to another exercise with another weight and so forth. And normally circuits are anywhere between 3 up to 5 different types of movement. Ideally, if I was prescribing a time-conscious strength training program for a client of mine, I would give them what we call a three-way circuit, or a PHA, a Peripheral Heart Action exercise. Now that's where you'll do a compound lift. You may do a squat, then you move on to a military barbell shoulder press, and then you may go on to a bent over back row. So you're using all the big muscles and joints in the body in 3 exercises. Now, sometimes depending on the fitness level of the client, and also we'll also chuck in a cardiovascular exercise as a 3rd or even 4th movement. Now that could be going on a treadmill, that could be going on a bike, or going on a rower. So let's get back to it again. You're stuck for time. So we're going to take the first exercise, which would be a barbell deadlift. A stiff leg deadlift, whole body deadlift, wide stance, narrow stance, doesn't matter. But for time saving, no pun intended, we're going to say a deadlift. We're going to do 10 to 12 repetitions. From there, we go straight onto a standing dumbbell or barbell military shoulder press. And from there, we may go on to a seated or standing bent over back row. Now, your heart rate is almost going to be through the roof there. It's at the very least going to be at 75% of your maximal heart rate, especially if you're quite new to fitness and you're doing this kind of workout. Now, we're just basing it on using quite light weights as well. So we're saying, okay, the weights could be, if it's a barbell deadlift, you've got a 20 kilo bar. We're talking you may only have a 10 plate. So it may be a 40 kilo deadlift, and then a 5 to 10 kilo dumbbell shoulder press, and then a 7 to 12 kilo bent over back row. So the weights aren't particularly heavy, but once you go from one exercise to another, you'll have done possibly 36 repetitions using large muscle groups, which is going to push your heart rate up. Ideally, it wants to be at 65 to 75% of your maximal heart rate. And straight from there, you're going to jump onto the spin bike, the treadmill, or the rower, and do anything between 60 seconds and up to 3 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. Not maximum all out, but we're talking like a zone 2, something where you can safely perform the cardiovascular exercise, and it's going to keep your heart rate up. When you come off that, you've essentially done 3 strength exercises and 1 cardiovascular. Your heart rate's going to be up to 80, 85, even 90% of your maximal heart rate. And at that point then, we stop and bring the heart rate down. Not right back down to resting heart rate, but certainly back down to 50% or something like that. Now, I talked about the 3 weight circuit workout. Now, the proper term in our line of work is PHA, Peripheral Heart Action. And what I'd like to do is read you a quick paragraph from my study book back from 2008 on Peripheral Heart Action. Remember, This is our trainer's way or a therapist's way of talking about pushing your heart rate up using strength exercises. Okay, peripheral heart action, PHA, is a resistance exercise and aerobic based exercise, that workout that aims to keep the heart rate elevated for the duration of the session. PHA is essentially a gym-based circuit during which a series of exercises are performed sequentially and continuously. Workouts are simple to design and effective for increasing muscular tone, endurance, while simultaneously delivering aerobic fitness. As with most training systems, PHA guidelines are for us to actually prescribe for the client, so we make the decision. The guidelines are there, then we make the decision of the exact rest period that he or she is going to take, and it could be anything from 15 seconds to up to 90 seconds, and that may seem like a long time in between, but rest assured, when you start moving heavier weights, and especially with a multi-joint action exercise, like a squat or a deadlift, you may need more than 15 seconds, you may need up to 90, and your heart rate's still going to be quite high. Okay, so once the guidelines are set of making a peripheral heart action or a weight circuit workouts there, we've then got to think about, the client is going to be out of breath, possibly even a little bit dizzy, the blood pressure is going to be up, they may need to stop for between 1 and 3 minutes to stop, bring the heart rate down, get some fluid in them, or make sure you've got enough fresh air in the lungs as well, and then we go again. And then sometimes that will give us as a trainer enough time to change the weights on the plates for the client. We don't expect clients to do it themselves. They have to concentrate on performing the exercises safely. It's down to us to actually change the weights for them if it's required. Now, if you did a circuit like that 3 or 4 times over, that's not going to take a long time. That's going to take no more than 15, 18, 20 minutes out of your day. Now, you'd have warmed up. You may have done 5 to 10 minute cardiovascular exercise to warm up. So a little bit of foam rolling and a little bit of mobility and flexibility exercises. So let's say turn 15 minutes prepping your body maximum for a workout like that. And then after that, say 25, 30 minutes maximum to get those peripheral heart action, those weight circuits performed. Now, that's going to be enough muscle fibers, ligaments and tendons recruited to actually give you some form of what's known usually quite often in American vernacular, is a metcon or metabolic conditioning. Now, metabolic conditioning, that phrase was coined, if memory serves me right, by a strength and conditioning coach in the American NFL League for taking his already good athletes or superb athletes and being time conscious with their training by getting them to do one compound lift after another, 2, 3, as many as 4 strength training movements, one after the other, and then of course a cardiovascular exercise. Now, taking into account metabolic conditioning is a phrase that's bandied around quite easily nowadays, but that's essentially what it is. Your heart rate's going up, you're boosting your metabolism, you're conditioning the body with strength and endurance. Now, let's take away the elements of flexibility and mobility, proprioception, spatial awareness and balance. That's a different type of fitness, and we can come into that on another day. But remember, you can do an exercise like that, a circuit like that, 3 or 4 times over, and that is just a short period. You may need 3 to 4 minutes of a cool down at the end and some static stretches, shower, get on your way to work. Now, that just goes to show that for both beginners, intermediate or even advanced strength training athletes, or Joe Public, you can actually get a good strength training session done in a short period of time. That you don't need to be spending, 1 to 2 hours in your local health club, aimlessly wandering around looking at your phone and thinking, why have I not got time to train? So my suggestion is you do that. If you have an hour's lunch break and you work from home, you can do that and still get a quick a bowl of cereal or a bit of fruit down you after and get back to work. If you finish work at 5, 6, 7 o'clock even, that is enough time for you to go straight to your gym, your health club or your trainer and ask for a workout like that. So you're in and out really quickly and there's your time. So, now what I'd like to do is make a suggestion that if you are already training this year, you started your new exercise in regime in January, let's say 1st, 2nd of January, new year, new me, that's great. Then at some point, certainly by, I would say, April, certainly in the first quarter to the third of the year, you should really go on to some form of exercise like that, not just picking up a weight and aimlessly doing anything up to 30 repetitions and then hanging around for 3 or 4 minutes in between the next one. Cut your training time down. Don't spend too long doing it, because after a while, your nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, and even your brain, things start to switch off and you can become bored, or your body will become bored, and it will just stop making those adaptations. You want to apply a little bit of stress like that. And as long as you've got good form, good technique, it's actually quite a good way of training. I do it myself. When I do my strength training, 9 times out of 10, I use a weight circuit workout. And that's because at my age, I don't need to be spending all the time hanging around a strength training area. I do it as a profession. So when I want to do it for myself, I'm in and out quickly. All right. Okay, so hopefully that will make some sense for you. Please, if you'd like to know how to actually perform those in detail, you can always call me, email me, or just comment on the channel. It's the Over 40s Fitness podcast with Tristan Lowe. That's me. And I think we're on episode 39, possibly even episode 40 now. And that's the last one I'm going to do for the first month of the year on short talks about strength training. And then, of course, throughout February, I'm going to go on to a new subject and hopefully give you some ideas for what to do with regards to nutrition. So, please like, subscribe and share the channel. And thanks for watching and listening.